So I think that actually very nicely transitions into the first one. So like, overthinking things is such a common issue. Like I think you talked about how when you were creating TikTok videos. Oh, by the way, guys, Mohan has actually built TikTok channels with 100K followers, a YouTube channel with 12K followers as well. And I think you were talking to me earlier about spontaneity and like how important just being spontaneous and just being in the zone and like having fun while creating content. Like, yeah, how important is that actually?
I think that's very important because right now we have sort of grown to have systems for ourselves to create content, and so we have schedulers to publish our content, or let's say for LinkedIn you have like a scheduling tool, and then you have the content planned out for the entire week, and then you have, let's say, you could have an automation tool to help you sort of connect with other people. So everything is sort of assisted and planned ahead, and you're not really discussing things in the moment, in the moment, right? Everything is planned ahead, and you're not really in the present. And that sort of connection, I feel that when you bring that spontaneity into your content, I feel that the passion to create content will be much more apparent, and it can be seen through, let's say, it could be a post, it could be a video. So that's what I believe in.
Yeah, actually, like even until today, all my LinkedIn posts, I've tried for the longest time to try and create in advance and schedule things and be super organized and systematic. I know that's how the big creators do it. I know that's how people who do scale very successfully, they do batch create and schedule and plan their content. But I don't know, there's just something fun about like writing on the spot, trying to bring your thoughts together in the moment, and then like trying to just hit post, and that feeling of like dopamine when you hit post as well. The whole rush from the start of the content creation process all the way till posting, I feel like it's a good experience. It's meant to be designed that way.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when we're bulk creating content and like it becomes more of a factory machine kind of process, you're just executing the process to get the job done.
Yes. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that's what it is. Like factory machine, just like you just basically finding ways to make it more efficient, like a machine. So another thing that I wanted to talk about as well is the fact that when you're pre-planning your content, you tend to think of like, okay, so the best ways, like the most optimized way to write about a certain topic. So you kind of tailor it to get for the best reach, for the best, like for the most likes. And I think that is a bit of a problem, because then you're just optimizing your content for the algorithm and not so much for the joy of creating it. And that's what like the spontaneity gives you. It's the joy for creating content.
I totally feel that as well. And I think that's also a problem with that I've been facing recently personally with some of my content, where I know that I have to optimize it for the algorithm in a way that it needs to be short, concise, it needs to be attention grabbing, the hook needs to be something that really makes people feel like, okay, I need to read this now. But at the same time, sometimes I just want to tell a story, or I just want to be creative in how I explain a topic or address an issue. And sometimes, too much focus on the algorithm really takes away the heart of it, and you tend to get burnt out a lot quite easily as well. Yeah. There was actually this period a couple of weeks ago when I was like, just for my own postings as well, where there was this period of like, right. There was this period where I was like just creating really just to meet the requirement, and it was really draining at the end of every week. It was like it actually really burns you out to an extent, and you just feel like, gosh, I just need to like be producing what I need to produce. But then the fun of and the fun and joy of like really sharing ideas, that really disappears when it's too algorithm focused and it's too like, yeah, I'm doing this for the results rather than for the process itself.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And I've had similar experiences as well. When so there was a point of time when I just started out photography, and so I wasn't really good back then, and it was pretty much an experimental phase. So I would just go out and take pictures and come back, edit, and so I would feel proud about it, and I would just post. So the entire process was really enjoyable until I started following like creators, really good photographers who on Instagram, who has a big following, and they would take really cool pictures. And so I kind of started. I naturally, when you follow these creators, you would tend to take inspiration from all these creators, right? And so I think what I realized is I started not only like taking inspiration from them, I started like copying them, like like point blank, like the
Right.
way they edit, the way they're taking pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, since I know, this kind of stuff works because they have such a huge following, and I thought that, if I can edit as good, or if I can take pictures like them or edit like them, then I could probably grow as big as them. So like I had that kind of mentality, and I wasn't really creating for my own anymore. And so when I realized that, I went through this whole phase of just discovering photography like all over again, like not really just trying to find my style, but like just trying to discover like what I thought about it, what's my perception. Yeah, so I guess
What happened after that? Like, how did you get out of that?
I think it was mostly just experimenting and posting, experimenting with the style of photography, and not detaching myself from the fact that I need to create for the best reach, like detaching myself from the idea. So what I was doing is I was just experimenting with my own content, which I felt like enjoyable for me, the entire experience, and which is taking pictures and making videos. Yes, my focus was not on really building the profile. It was more of like just sharing my photography with people. And so what happened after that? Like when I was like experimenting with these things, and I kind of naturally just started like building my own like fans, sort of, in a way. Not a huge like following size. It's more of like I was known for photography in my university. Like anyone who knew me knew that I did photography, and they liked it. So that was quite huge. Even though that it did, like, my Instagram didn't have a 10K, 100K followers. I was pretty much at like 500 like followers, and it was just mostly my high school and also university friends. But yeah, pretty much everyone I knew from uni, and also high school, I guess, like knew I did photography, and yeah, that meant a lot. And when people start associating you with a craft, and you're known for it in a certain place, so they will have you in your mind. And there were a lot of times I was referred to a few clubs in the university, or someone that they knew who were looking for photographers. Yeah, so it was kind of like a referral. And yeah,
How big was your account at the time?
my account was like 500 followers on Instagram.
Right.
Yeah, so I guess the takeaway here is that you don't really need a huge following, although that helps. But I think you just need a small following. I mean, how would I put this? You just need a following that has trust in your craft, and really, it follows you for your craft and believes in it. Yeah, that's what I believe in when it comes to content creation. And lately, I don't really see a lot of that. I see a lot of content being pushed out, just for the sake of building audience, like people chasing the audience size. And yeah, that's kind of becoming a problem, because like right now when I scroll through my LinkedIn feed, especially, like every piece of content kind of looks the same, even though the topic like being discussed is different, but the format is the same. And it has a hook, and usually the hook is something really dramatic. And yeah, and there are paragraphs. And yeah, the way it's being formatted is, I can clearly see that it's so optimized for the algorithm. And the problem with that is a lot of words gets filtered down when you're optimizing your content for the algorithm. So when a lot of words being like filtered down, the content is being filtered down, like you lose a lot of context. Yeah, it loses a lot of context. That's what I feel. What do you think about it? Have you had like a phase where you started noticing like this batch of content on your feed which just looks the same?
I mean, I think I'm not too bothered by the formats. What I think it was only bad when it really started affecting me. Like, I couldn't push out something. Like, I couldn't hit publish on a post, which I felt wasn't quite optimized. Like, I knew the content was good, but I felt like the hook wasn't quite there. It wasn't attention grabbing enough. And I'd spent maybe an hour of like not publishing, or maybe even just leaving the post and not ever publishing it, even though it's like I knew the value was there and the content was good. But it's also because of that, like that push to kind of like satisfy the algorithm and get the most reach and stuff. But I think one thing that we always tend to forget as well is that even 100 people seeing your content, that's a lot of people. Like a lecture theater can fit 200 people, 300 people. And really, you don't really need that. Like if you got a speaking gig to speak at a lecture theater at your university and talk about photography, right? That sounds like a big deal. But you're just talking to 300 people, which you could do every other day on social media. And I think when people see the thousands, and then they see the 6,000, the 10,000s, and then the 100,000s, they we tend to really get fixated on the numbers. How can we push those numbers higher? But in reality, you only really need to be speaking to 100 good profiles consistently, and they are going to trust you and stuff like that. So yeah, that's another mistake where it becomes too numbers oriented, and it's just you feel like a post that didn't hit more than 100 views is a huge flop. But you're still getting 100 views. That's like a lot of people. Yeah. So sometimes I just try to imagine, like, okay, if you got a post with 1,000 views, that's literally 1,000 people who are listening to what you say. Use that space. Just speak. The worst possible post that you could put out might get 300 views. As long as you're creating content that you feel is good value, that you're helping people, even if it's not too optimized, just get it out there and like. Don't worry about it. Like someone who needs to see it will see it, and sometimes it's just just getting it out there.
I think that the best content is the content that's being read by people and impacting them, even though the audience size, let's say even though it's just 100 people. Yeah. So instead of taking like 2 hours or 3 hours, just to produce like one really optimized content for the best reach, I would rather post content that takes a lesser time with more frequency. And even though there's less people are reading it and seeing it, but I'm able to send the message to those people in the fastest way possible.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that which brings back which makes me think that our perception of value is so distorted. Let's say like when you get 100 views in your post, it feels like you're doing bad. But if you get 100 people attending your webinar, listening to you, you feel like, oh shit, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
If you host an event and you have 100 attendees, you'd be happy. Like, you'd be really happy.
exactly. So yeah, so that's what I mean by, you know, that our perception of value, it needs, I feel like it needs fine tuning. And like, okay, so the thing is, like, right now we have a problem, right? That we have a problem that people are creating content just for the algorithm and not so much about the creativity anymore. But so we still need to build our audience one way or another, right? So and where do you draw the line? Like, what's the best way, you know, to preserve your creativity, to preserve that joy of creating? At the same time, you're also creating content to build the audience size. Because I think in reality, right, you can't just say like screw like
The algorithm, I'll just make whatever I want.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I think that's so true. I think it is always important to be mindful of, like, you know, the bigger forces at play.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you really aren't optimizing in any way, you know, there could be more people who would see your message. And if you're trying to spread a message, you know, you should, you know, like, to whatever extent possible, you know, just optimize it such that you get more people seeing that. But yeah, I think for me, right, the turning point that I had was when I realized that I knew that I was feeling super anxious about posting. I was actually talking to Lizzie about this, and she was telling me, like, hey, if you're feeling this way about your content, you know, you're not doing it right. Like, just relax, you know, so I think, you know, having a bit of maybe time blocking, that could help. Like, I'm gonna spend 20 minutes optimizing this, and I'm just gonna get it out no matter what. You know, maybe that could be one way about it. Like, restricting yourself from having that over optimization bias. I don't know. What do you do about it? Like, how do you stop yourself from just continuously serving the algorithm?
I think this reminds me of this one of the interview by John Mayer. I'm not sure if you know John Mayer. It's a singer, right?
Yeah, he's one of my favorites.
Okay, nice. So I think this interview was with Ellen in Ellen's show.
Okay.
So basically, she asked, how often do you create for yourself, like create music for yourself and create music for the audience? Because the music industry basically went through the same thing that social media is going through right now.
Shit.
Right? Right. As an artist, you know, as a musician, you start creating because it's your passion. Right. And as you build your audience size, and you know, you realize that you're creating music for your audience and what they want, and you know, it's just like a spiral after that. So basically, what John Mayer said, that he creates like one music for one, like, let's say like one song for himself and one song for the audience, for the people. Ooh. And I think that could be like a good format to start with. Like, you can create like one post for yourself where you just don't really care about the algorithm, and another post which is like, you know, optimized for the algorithm. Yeah, that could be a good format to adopt. Yeah, what are your thoughts on it?
You know, actually, Ali Abdal made a video about this before, where he actually talks about how it's actually a Venn diagram. You have two circles, and there's an intersection, there's an overlap, right? One circle is the content that you enjoy creating and you want to create. Yeah. The other circle is the content that the market wants, and you know, the algorithm, the attention, like, that's the content that the attention wants. Right. You got to find that intersection. That's where the money is, where you can create stuff that you still enjoy. It's a message that you still want to spread. It makes it unique as well. But at the same time, it is relevant to the market. So I think with musicians, right? Let's say, for example, Taylor Swift just launched a new album, right? I haven't listened to it yet, though. I've been wanting to. But yeah, like with music, right? They could be, like, Taylor Swift could be just creating music that she knows will make radio, you know. Charlie Puth talks about this a lot as well. But, you know, they, at the same time, they'd make that conscious choice to still be to have elements that or certain songs in the album that will become hits, but other songs that are really just for their followers and really just themselves telling their own stories.
Yeah, that's one way to go about it as well, right? So you use the content as a platform to as an outlet to basically express yourself. I mean, it has always been about that, but just really finding the middle ground. Like, what's the like, how do you convey your message that you want to convey while not like not YOLOing it.
Right.
Right. I don't know. I don't know how else I can put it, but yeah, I still think that the like creating one content for yourself and creating one content for the audience might work.
Yeah.
I think it's just another thing I wanted to talk about as well is how like you need to be excited about talking the things that you care about, right? So like it needs to make you feel excited first, and so through content you share the excitement with your people. And like, so when was the last time you felt that way when you posted?
Oh, I think recently almost every post.
Is it?
Yeah. There was this period where I was just posting really for the sake of, like, I knew I needed to get this out in order to get business traffic and stuff like that. But recently, pretty much every post has been like, it's from the heart, you know? Yeah.
Why is that?
I don't know. I feel like some of these things, like when I have conversations with people who are really struggling with, building their business, and they're building their, they want to create content, they want to get themselves out there and start building attention to themselves, but they don't know how to. And when I think of those people and I write, it just makes me write from a very compassionate point. And that makes me really happy. And I think that's something that's been quite nice. Yeah.
That's interesting. Like, I'm happy for you that you found your fulfillment in creating content.
I mean, that's how it started, when I was in university and I was just like doing this whenever I felt like it, and like I'd have a random idea and I'd just post it on LinkedIn, or on Instagram, right? I used to Instagram stories a lot as well. Like, it was really just to share ideas. That's really the pure heart of it, and that's how it all started. So I feel like every now and then it's good to be a bit therapeutic and go back to that. Yeah.
Actually,
you do that with photography as well?
Yeah, it is because back then I felt the same way. I didn't really care about like how the picture looks like. To me it was good, but I never really thought about like what others would think of it. I just wanted to share. I just wanted to share to the world. And sometimes it's just really quiet, and maybe some pictures whenever I post it people will react. And right now there's so many features on Instagram that say like there's reels, and there's like the normal like feed, there's stories, and there are different ways you can post your content. And there are different features that you can use in combination for the best reach, right? And back then, I didn't think about all of this. I was just like, okay, I have this picture, I just want to post it, and I would just post it in a story. And I think back then the problem with I think it's still a problem in Instagram where let's say if you take like a 16:9 a horizontal picture, and if you want to post it on Instagram story, since like Instagram story is vertical format, and you can't post a horizontal picture without like resizing it, unless like you flip the image to fit the screen, the vertical format. So at that time I don't think too much about it. I'll be like, okay, I want to post this, I really want to post this, I'll just flip it. I didn't really care about like the UI, the viewer experience or whatsoever. I just wanted to share, that's all. Like share like the fastest way possible. That's that's what I cared about mostly. But obviously, I have evolved. I have evolved, and I do. I guess there's the there's pros and cons and everything, right? And the pros is that I understand a little better about the best way to post my pictures. So right these days, I probably have like another app where I can put my, let's say if I want to post multiple pictures in one story, then I put them in a grid, and then I export it and I post in a story. I care a bit more about like the look and the UI. Yeah, but the cons is that it takes a bit more time for you to create it. So when it takes more time to create,
you're adding friction to the creative process. Right?
Yes, you're adding friction to the creating process, and it could potentially discourage you from putting out that content. And I think that's what a lot of creators are going through right now because of how like vigorous the process can become. And so when you think about all of that, it just discourages you, right? So you can, but sometimes it can just be so simple to put out a piece of content. But let's say on LinkedIn, when you think about growing your account, you think about, I need to have I need to have a management tool where I can store all my ideas. I need to have a scheduler, so I probably let's say I need to sign up for it, or sometimes schedulers their free plans are so limited.
I can't start until I got these analytics tools that I've paid for.
Yes, exactly. Or I think the biggest thing is that people struggle with, especially content creators, is that they think they need to be somebody, they need to be huge, or like the expert in the space to share their thoughts, their knowledge. I feel that that has gotten to a lot of people these days, that they instead of sharing their own ideas, they share other people's idea.
Right.
Mostly.
Yeah.
I mean, which is not wrong, which is not wrong to share other people's ideas if it's good, but I feel that the best way to share an idea is by internalizing the idea that you have learned from another person, right? And then you add your own twist, your own flavor to it, and you just share it with the audience. Yeah. So at the end of the day, I think we have created a lot of friction to creating content, I feel. And also with all these different channels that we have so many channels right now. We have LinkedIn, we have Instagram, we have TikTok, and it is very easy to get feel very overwhelmed. Yeah. That the pressure is that to create. So what's the best channel that I can use to create content to reach my audience? But I think sometimes it could just be as simple as, what am I good at? What's your best craft? I'm good at taking pictures. What's the best platform to post my pictures? Right? Yeah. So things like that. Oh, I'm getting a phone, by the way. Just for your context, for everyone who's listening here right now, this whole live thing was planned 2 hours ago.
It was actually after work. We were still in the office and we were just hanging out after work, and we were just like, hey, you know what? Let's go live. That was Mohan. He was like, hey, you know what? Let's go live tonight. Oh man. And try out this LinkedIn audio thing. So yeah, very cool. I first found out about it from actually one of the people in the audience today, Daniel Go. So he had a live with Eric, Dr. Eric. Yeah. So Daniel and Eric worked together, so they were having a live similar to this.
Oh, all right.
That was the first audio event I went to.
So right. Hey, Daniel.
It was super cool. It was super dope.
Right. So this is super
structured.
All right.
Oh.
Wait, I just saw a hand.
I think his hand went up and then now it's back down. Okay. Yeah.
So Another thing I think another thing that we can talk about. Oh wait, Daniel.
Oh no, it's a reaction, I think.
Oh right.
One of those
We are so new to this that we don't even know what function means what. Okay. I think another thing we can talk about is how let's say you have these 100 people like who are listening to you, and so and how easy it is to be affected by, let's say, if like Ivy is not listening to me right now, and it's very easy. If I knew that she wasn't listening to me, it's very easy for me to get affected by it. But the thing is, like, there's Andrew, there's Daniel, there's Aziz who's listening to me, and so these three people are actually listening to what I'm saying. And just because Ivy is not, and I'm, I get affected by it. So it's that, like, learning, like, what to ignore, and just like really appreciating, like, the people who like follow like you for your craft. And I think that's also a huge problem, because
I think that's the topic of haters, right? There or not even haters. Like, sometimes it's people who just ignore what you're doing.
yeah, not pay attention,
Yeah.
or because I think it still could be very relevant to this, because, like, let's say, like a post which I like, okay, let's say like a LinkedIn post, which I posted like yesterday, and then it had like 2,000 like views, and today I posted something and it has like 900 views on, and I'd be like, why is my post not like
Where did I
performing
go
as
wrong?
good? Like, where did I go wrong?
Yeah.
So yeah, things like that, because you just start questioning the 1,000 people that's missing. But
Rather than the 900 people who are actually still
who are
there.
actually still there. Yeah, the 900 people could be like, could be those people who interact or engage with the content like on a regular basis. Like, I feel that they need the recognition much more, like the appreciation much more, compared to those people who, like, just, it could be so many things. People have probably, they're probably at work, they're probably driving right now, and they just, I think the post probably just never came across the feed, right? Yeah, there's so many factors, and we just base our we just base it off that I mean the fact that there's like we have like 1,000 people short in the post, and we just think that we're not doing as good. Oh yeah. I think that was quite all over the place, but I think the message was quite clear.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see. So thank you all so much as well for dropping in. It was pretty random, but really appreciate all of you dropping by. I think we're gonna wrap up here, because I do have another friend who's come in to record his podcast in the Wax studio.
Right.
So thank you all again so much. So just a quick recap, I guess, of what we've shared today. We talked about the mistakes people make when creating content. Well, the mistakes we've made when creating content. I think number one, being too focused on the algorithm, like really trying to optimize everything for the algorithm and not really caring about the process or the fun of creating content and sharing ideas. Number two, it was, let's see, what was it?
Yeah, I think I kind of lost track of it.
There were a couple in between, and that last one was
that don't worry too much about, like, the fluctuations in views and impressions. Just focus on, like, the actual people who are listening or like watching or reading your content. Yeah.
There you go. So if you're at the start of your journey, or you're somewhere in between and you're just looking for, I guess you're in a bit of a pickle or you're struggling with what you're working on, just remember, do it for the fun of it, do it for the craft, enjoy the process, and have a good night, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us.
All right, thank you guys. See you soon. We might be doing something like this again when we feel like it. So, see you all. Have a good night.
See you.
Have a
Good
good
night.
weekend.
Have a good weekend.